Welcome back, everybody. You got Will and I-Man here from the Block Runner MetaZone, Rovi and MScribe, and today we're going to be talking about Bitcoin is in trouble.
It's in dire trouble, dude.
Yeah,
Maybe not today.
That's what the tweets are telling me.
Not just the tweets, the institutional research
right.
and deep analysis, dude. Not just crypto institutions, TradFi.
But wait a minute, I-Man. We're at $75,000 Bitcoin. Why is it in trouble?
Yeah, certainly doesn't look like it, right? We got a Trump regime on its way. You know, what could go wrong? This is like the prevalent today sentiment, right? Like all lights are green. Yeah, dude. There's no stopping this train, but there is like an underlying, I guess, future consideration. There's probably not going to be like something widely discussed this cycle, but
pretty soon this is going to be a major topic of discussion. Yeah,
we've been hearing about this and.
Actually, my prediction is this cycle to the next cycle, these are the main talking points.
You know what? You're probably right. I think these are things that have to be, because it's a main selling point to Ordinals in general, right? As we're going to discuss here. And just building out a Bitcoin ecosystem, period, right? Because that is one of the new things that's seemingly emerging this cycle that didn't exist in the previous cycles, right? All the activity, all the on-chain flow of value was happening outside of the banks of Bitcoin, right? It was happening on Ethereum and Solana and Cardano, whatever, right?
Yeah, because the next halving, we're going to be looking at 1.6 Bitcoin mined per block.
Yeah. That doesn't seem like
that's not a lot.
Right, yeah. So
and we're expecting Bitcoin to double again?
Yeah. I mean, it can, but it's going to be every time is that much more difficult, right? Because you're requiring a much more larger capital inflow every single cycle, right? So,
which there's a lot of capital out there.
Of course, correct, but still, nonetheless,
it's not going to double forever, and that's the point. So, what the hell are we talking about, I-Man?
Yeah, you tell me, dude.
All right, so we're looking at a tweet here. It says Bitcoin is in trouble. It says if nothing changes soon, things won't be pretty. I'm not talking about the halving schedule or block rewards is much more serious than that. And if you read through this thread, which I recommend, ultimately, if Bitcoin is pitched as the digital gold, that means that you buy digital gold and you hold digital gold, and you don't really send it or use it or transact with it at all.
It's true.
So what, right? Who cares? Well, the problem with that is if Bitcoin keeps on halving, right, as it will, and you are asking people to buy and hold assets, guess what happens when nobody uses Bitcoin? There's no transaction fees to be sent to the miner, and therefore unsustainability, security potentially goes down.
Yeah.
And then you have consolidation of miners, and all of a sudden you have 51% of tax.
That's true.
And it's all over, like actually over.
Yeah, so, God damn, dude. Wow. I wouldn't expect you to say all that because, you know.
That is what's going to happen.
That is the reality of what could potentially happen if, like, the ecosystem of people who appreciate Bitcoin and what it offers, you know, considering our perspective of attempting to build an actual metaverse off of the foundations of Bitcoin and the maintenance of, like, this data substrate layer that is unbreakable and has, like, the digital hardness requirements for, like, a digital existence of the metaverse, right?
Yeah.
We need that to maintain and sustain forever, right? Because we want this virtual existence layer to be persistent and never die off, right?
Correct.
So we have very strong motivations here to ensure, like, this dilemma that's largely not really being discussed as much because it is like a future concern, not so much like front and center, like, holy shit, you know, global warming, guys. This is more like the early, like,
you know what? Global warming is actually happening on Bitcoin. It's like the global freezing.
That's
Bitcoin.
That's kind of what this feels like, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like the early, like, scientists out there, like, hey guys,
something's happening.
We're noticing some data. You know, there's a couple seals died more this year than last year, right? So there's some climate shifting. You guys should probably pay attention.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, "Fuck off, dude! I enjoy my fossil fuels."
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to hear this nonsense, dude. I enjoy my plastics. I enjoy my cars that like vroom, vroom.
My pollution. I enjoy all of it.
Yeah, dude. So then, but nonetheless, it's one of these, like, I guess, things that need to be addressed at some point, right? Or else we're all doomed.
So this is a guy saying it.
Some guy on Twitter.
Right.
Definitely, like, the most reliable sources, right? Twitter, X.
But who else is saying this thing? It's like, what do
Yeah.
you know? S&P Global is
Yeah.
saying this thing.
Yeah.
And this is an article. If you want to read it, you're going to have to register an account. It's free. But we highlighted a particular point here. So what comes next? We expect consolidation in the Bitcoin mining industry to accelerate. Miners will need to increase their share of blocks mined to mitigate the reduction in revenue per block.
Mm-hmm.
Those that have been more profitable to date or have accumulated BTC reserves that have increased in value are best positioned to invest in upgrading or adding to their rigs, expanding to new locations, or acquiring new miners. Some operations, particularly those with higher energy costs, will become unprofitable and shut down.
Yeah.
So now with the reducing subsidy, now you have like unsustainable mining practices,
right.
and their businesses will die off because they have to continue paying for electricity.
Yeah.
And if they're not making enough Bitcoin, then they have to shut down, and therefore it consolidates.
Yeah. So it's like an actual like economics race, right, between these miners, and some are much more well suited and well positioned, I guess, to like scale into the future than others. So that's where the consolidation occurs. It's literally natural selection from like a technology's perspective, right? Because as years go on, their hardware requirements increase, right?
Yeah. So we have the efficiency of hashing power increases. So that means it takes less energy to produce more hash.
Mm-hmm.
And but that's a new piece of hardware that you need to acquire.
Right.
And sometimes, they're likely more expensive than previous hardware. So you're buying more expensive hardware to increase your hash power, and then so is everyone else.
Yeah. So this is literally what software is, right? There's a book back there.
That's right.
I don't know if we can get like a...
Can you see that?
No, you actually can't, dude.
Left or right?
On,
yeah, move to your left.
Move your giant head, dude.
There you go. Close enough. You see it. It's there.
It's there.
Yeah,
it's
software.
We're talking about software, right?
Yeah, thank you, Jason Lowry.
Yeah, like that's what's happening. It's what's been happening with Bitcoin, what will continue to happen into the future. So, yeah, you don't want this to like result in like a hyper consolidation as a means of like,
Yeah, because then you could just drop a missile and then Bitcoin is pretty much done.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Oh, it's very disruptive, right? So what do we need to do? So this article highlights, and I think the existing prevalent sentiment is like, this is the whole purpose of building on Bitcoin now, right?
Yeah.
There's a much more like tangible mission, I think, from all of our perspectives. It's like, we're not just creating like a degen casino here.
Yeah, for the funsies.
For the funsies of it.
Yeah.
And just to like pump all of our own like personal bags. There's an underlying ethos here of like, this is what's going to support Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right? And like address these issues.
Yeah, and speaking of, Casey's saying exactly that. Ideally, Bitcoin monetizes to the extent that fees from payments, saving, and settlement are enough to secure the network, but it would still be good. It would still be a good outcome if fees from chaotic casino degen users subsidize security for infrequently transacting sound money users.
Yeah. So essentially, he's saying the same thing. It's like, Bitcoiners, and over time, as more like institutional adoption comes in, we're locking up these reserves essentially, especially whenever government, like, what was one of Trump's policies? Like, what was it? National Reserve for Bitcoin?
National Reserve, yeah.
Yeah, and he's got RFK Jr. on the docket now, like in his cabinet, and he was saying like 4 million Bitcoin is the target.
He's advocating for 4 million Bitcoin acquisition by the U.S. government.
Yeah, so that means that's going to be locked up Bitcoin, like a little ledger in Fort Knox.
Pretty much.
Not moving anywhere, like zero velocity for this Bitcoin, right? Therefore, that's not going to be contributing to this fee environment, right?
Yeah.
In any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, correct.
Which is the expected outcome for Bitcoin. So it's like we actually need to do something to generate more fees outside of expecting it to come from like the movement and the flow of Bitcoin itself.
Yeah, so it's like, well, this is like a tomorrow problem, my man. Right? We don't have to worry about this, but this is a tweet from like a few days ago by Casey.
Yeah. This is because he's responsible for a lot of this, right? Ordinals and now runes. It's like, I might not agree so much with like the degeneracy of like what meme coins represent, but at the very minimum, through like enabling this like meme coin mania on Bitcoin, like we're addressing like a critical concern. Right?
Yeah.
Which we agree with, right? So, but we think, there's additional mechanisms that could be deployed here, specifically within the DMT and TAP ecosystem that can also contribute to this this concern. Right?
Yeah, so we're going to include this link into the description as well from Gate.io. This was written by Navigator. For some reason, Gate.io doesn't allow Americans to gain knowledge, and so they've blocked this from America.
Damn it, dude. Cucked again, dude. It's fucking America. Not only can we not like participate, we can't even learn no more, dude.
Yeah, and so why do we bring up this article? Because it talks about the NAT token, the first non-arbitrary token from the DMT ecosystem, and that blocked out in a week. It launched November 20th. In a week, it blocked out, and pretty soon after that, looks like there was a bot scraping all the NAT blocks.
Yeah, I remember that, dude. So this is like a prevailing, I guess, question that continually comes up for good reason. You know, not just for NAT, but for also Bitmap, right? Where it's like, hey, you've got this perpetual asset that's being generated essentially non-arbitrarily every single time a Bitcoin block is being mined. Right?
Yeah.
So in Bitmap's case, it's a virtual world, literally. In NAT's case, it's a fungible token with like a non-arbitrary supply correlated to the bits field value of that block.
Yeah, and this is what the inscription looks like. It's a JSON, tab, DMT mint, the deployment, the ticker NAT, and then the block number.
Yeah, so during the blockout phase, this was an open and free mint for both of them, Bitmap and NAT. So it's literally it was a race to inscribe these JSON, text instructions, right, to claim blocks and therefore receive the non-arbitrary subsidy, if you will, as a result, right? So, but beyond that point, now we have like, okay, post-blockout era phase. So in Bitmap's case, it's been like a year and maybe 5 months or so, year and a half.
Yeah.
In Nat's case, we're getting close to a year.
That's right.
Right. So both these newly introduced asset classes are kind of dealing with the same dilemma, right? It's like how do you distribute this asset after the blockout period, right?
Yeah, correct. So Bitmap is dealing with a bot as well. I believe maybe a miner is involved with selfish mining, and they're mining Bitmap. And then there's a bot acquiring all the latest blocks of NAT as well.
Yeah, so this is a concern, right? Because if you like read the sentiment back in those early days where people were bringing it up, it's like, hey, well, how are we going to deal with this issue? Consensus seemed to be like, hey, it's not really an issue, right? You know, through game theory mechanics, maybe down the line as demand increases, there'll be more competitive competition between bots over time. So that seemed viable at the time. Right? I was like, okay, we'll just like let it play out.
Yeah.
Right. But it introduces this new, I guess, like vertical of like, when does that inflection point occur within the market? Yeah. And like how much damage is done at that point, right? Because if it is like a consolidation of the asset base to a singular actor, you have risks, new risks are emerging.
That's right. Yeah. And so why are we talking about the NAT here in the context of like supporting miners? So the NAT token is produced every single block in the same way as Bitmap. And I guess the thought is like, what if we made a change to the protocol where it sent the NAT to a successful miner of Bitcoin?
Which miner, dude?
So the one who mines the latest block of Bitcoin is the one who gets the NAT token.
Right. So it's no longer like, a competitive environment among selfish miners, right? It's leveraging the already existing subsidy distribution mechanism built in within Bitcoin itself, right?
Right.
And again, tackling an issue that we just kind of outlined, right? We need these added contributions as far as like new subsidies.
Yeah, right? And so the option is we can create a casino which is successful and it has its ups and downs, right? Or we can create a valuable token that is sent directly to the miners because it already has like a user base.
Correct. Yeah, so this is what we're kind of dealing with now, right? It's a potential new redirection essentially for like the future NAT distribution. Right. So the only reason why we're able to even consider this is because of our conversations we've had with Benny. Yeah. So we have an interview tomorrow. It should be released tomorrow. And we're discuss within that interview part of this concept, right? And go into the reasonings and exactly how it can come about and how it can actually function. But yeah, the idea is to put this out so that we can kind of like plant the seed, let the community kind of come to grip with how this whole thing functions and whether or not this alignment with supporting, Bitcoin miners into the future, makes sense or not, right?
Yeah. So
from our perspective, it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, and so we're going to talk about the numbers here. So right now, if you go to a mempool and you click on this little hammer here, it'll give you some miner metrics.
Yeah.
So the miner reward is $35 million over the last day. $35 million over the last day. And the average fee per block over the last day has been $3,000.
Yeah, per block.
Per block, correct.
Yeah. So if you break that down, like per block, the subsidy requirements essentially is around $200,000.
Yeah.
Right. Like that is like what is expected as like a substantial reward essentially for maintaining this operation to secure the Bitcoin network. Right.
Yeah.
So eliminate that value to the left, and like you're only left with what's here in the middle.
Yeah, it's just the fees per block.
Yeah, the miners are in serious trouble.
Yeah, look at there's a huge discrepancy between the 35 million. So this is roughly times 144 blocks. We're looking at $400,000 over a day.
Correct.
Right. So that's 10% of this.
Yeah, and at some point and we know for a fact that figure to the left is actually going to become voided. Yeah. Zero.
Eventually, 2140 is going to be zero.
Yeah, so no matter what, even though we'll probably be well dead unless like AI and
maybe
automation like keeps us alive forever. Unlikely, but you never know.
Yeah.
Then, this is like our children and grandchildren's concern, right?
Right.
But like again, the actions of what people today do is what's going to influence their future, right? So
yeah. So now let's take a look at blockchain.com and let's look at one of the latest blocks on Bitcoin and see how many NAT tokens are actually being generated per block. And you're looking at 386 million NAT tokens.
Yeah.
So right now this is being botted, but what if this was directed to the miner and that miner would be generating this amount of NAT tokens? So let's take a look at the market cap of NAT. So we just did a quick math here. It's about 150 Bitcoin, which is about $11 million. So what would this number value be per block if the NAT token went from $11 million market cap to, let's say, something like 20 billion?
That's a nice number.
Right? So let's do the math for that.
Okay.
So I'm going to zoom in here, and we're going to do some quick math. So we're going to say, actually, I have the numbers here already. We have $20 billion market cap divided by today's supply of the NAT token, and that gives us $1 per NAT, right? So we take that $1 per NAT and we multiply that by, let's say, the 400 million NAT tokens that are being generated
on average.
Yeah. On average, yeah. And then you're getting $22,000 of value. Right. So now let's go back. And let's take a look at that comparison. $22,000 per block at a 20 billion market cap. So, I picked 20 billion out of thin air, but what if we can actually get this token to that market cap? Now we're talking about actually
contributing at least.
Yeah, at least contributing to the security of Bitcoin at that point.
Yeah, and the idea here is unlocking this as like an alignment mission, right? Because meme coins and just tokens in general within the Web3 ecosystem, it's all about creating like a mission and a community aligned to addressing and tackling those goals, right? So aligning the DMT space, the ecosystem, because this isn't something that can only be singularly applied to NAT, right? It can be applied to other tokens that are generated in the DMT space, right? So this would become like an additional protocol, optional deployment methodology, essentially, right? So we could have other tokens generated into the future that are adding on to this like pooled contribution, essentially maintaining like the security down the line.
So the NAT token would be kind of like the first MVP version of this, directing to the miners, but it will be potentially a feature that you can select that you can direct your new token being sent to the miners.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense for like the large scale mints to kind of be like the killer feature or the killer application for this, right? Because
because upon blockout, you've essentially distributed an asset class to a bunch of people. Right?
Yeah.
Like right now, the NAT token has like 20,000 holders. Bitmap has 40,000. And so, that's a pretty large user base.
Mm-hmm.
And so once it's blocked out, then you can just sort of direct the new blocks
Correct.
to the miners.
Yeah, that way it's not, because we know what miners are going to have to do, right? The idea here is these are newly discovered and newly allocated subsidies for performing what we need them to do to secure Bitcoin, right? So what are they going to do with that? Most likely they're going to liquidate these assets the same way they do for Bitcoin, right? To keep the electricity running, essentially.
Yeah.
That way we can continue to leverage Bitcoin and all of its like beautiful innate properties to build out, again, a non-arbitrary metaverse frontier, right? Like we need to ensure this is like stable grounds. And of course, Bitcoin is as most stable as grounds get, like in the digital space.
Yeah, for sure.
But again, with these looming problems, if they're not addressed properly, and that's what we're seeing, we have a degen casino ecosystem in construction still. But as we know with crypto, these have their ups and downs. It's not like the most sustainable of things.
Yeah, and right now there's like a meme coin super cycle, and everyone's pumping these meme coins for nothing. Like that's for no gain, no mission, no nothing.
Yeah.
And so like if a meme coin can pump to 1 billion or even 20 billion, why not have the NAT token pump to 20 billion and actually have a mission to sustain Bitcoin?
Yeah, exactly. That's what we mean by the aligning the ethos and the mission, right? It's not just like dog go to moon. That is like an alignment, ethos, and mission for like an existing Rune meme token, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've created this meme called a dog, and our mission is to take it to the moon, which is basically another word for saying number go up. But like for what? Why?
Yeah.
Oh, because, we just want to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Which is fine. That's the market.
That is a meme.
Yeah. The market supports that activity, right? But in this case, it's like, okay, number go up. Why? Just to ensure that the stability of Bitcoin and the security is maintained, right? And oh, guess what? Like, number went up. Everybody's still happy.
And everybody got rich.
Right. It's like, it's an alignment that makes the most sense, right? And again, the underlying motivation to it all is supporting like DMT and the proliferation of a non-arbitrary metaverse, right?
So this is an alignment feature that is like, dude, it checks so many boxes.
I agree. Yeah, so this is a no-brainer to us. You guys let us know what you think. We should have a Twitter space next Wednesday.
That's right.
So yeah, definitely watch the interview that's posted tomorrow. See what Benny thinks about all this and exactly how it's gonna like technically roll out and such. And then let's see what you guys think. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for us. If you have any questions, let us know in the comment section below. Also, follow our Twitter account, join our Discord, and we're always hanging out in Discord, so you can ask questions there as well. I appreciate you guys for watching, and we will catch you in the next video.
Peace.